Adam is in the room, and if you see me duck, you'll know why.
Yeah.
Hi, Adam. Good morning.
What's
or good
up,
afternoon.
guys? How you doing?
Adam,
Hello.
what made you come in here?
You told me to come in here. That's what made me come in here.
Okay.
We did tell him to
We
come
did tell
here.
him
We
to come
can't question him coming in.
But did you understand why I asked you to come in?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on. I mean, where do you want me to start?
Start from what this idiot said in this booth here.
So let's address the Goff Stafford situation at
yeah,
first.
Yeah,
So,
but I want to. What was the question asked? Is this game bigger for Goff or is this game
and
bigger
also
for
who would
Stafford?
perform better over the season, right?
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so let's start with performance over a given season. It's obviously going to be Matthew Stafford. He's playing on a better team. He has a much better head coach, more weapons. Lions don't have receivers, so Jared Goff is going to struggle. They're going to be a heavy run offensive team, and they're going to try to play on the clock. And when they play from behind, they're going to suck, and he's going to throw a lot of interceptions. So over the course of a season, Stafford is the clear guy who's going to play better. It's just given. Having said that, I want to say Jared Goff has more to prove because he was the one they traded 2 first-round picks away for and himself to get this guy as a replacement. So I got to say Goff has more to play for against the Los Angeles Rams later in the season. But I mean, Stafford doesn't give a shit. He didn't accomplish anything here outside of being a stable franchise quarterback that, I like to say he's Kirk Cousins with a better arm and better looks. So.
He was a good quarterback.
He was a very good quarterback.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback.
He was never great. He was never shit.
Yeah.
But when the team was good, he made a lot of really bad mistakes. Choked away a great start to the season, 6-2. They only won 1. There was a point, I believe they only needed to win 2 games of their last 5 to win the division. They managed to lose 4 and lose in Week 17 in Lambeau. As his career in the playoffs go, he's 0-3, obviously we all know this, but his first playoff start was very good against New Orleans, and then he was very bad, and then even worse against Seattle. Dallas, we all know what happened, the pass interference call.
That second half was
I'll give
deplorable
everybody
by
that.
offense.
But the team did get the ball with 5 minutes left. Now, I know how demoralizing it is to get that kind of a call in a playoff game that late, but leaders step up, and they get the team together, and they get it done. So I don't like making excuses for Stafford. 8-67 against winning teams. Granted, that's not all on him, but the quarterback position is mostly responsible for team success overall. If you have the quarterback, you win football games. It's a given. Having said that, he was never supported, I want to say, half of his career, or maybe a little more than half of his career. He never had a great roster around him, but that's what quarterbacks do. You make everybody around you better. And that's my take on Stafford.
I think that's fair.
Is that fair? I'm not trying to call the guy shit. I mean,
he's not. No,
he's not shit. He's a
I
good
respect-
quarterback, and I think he'll be very
I
good
respect
in
what
Los
you said
Angeles.
because you're breaking it down.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not
versus,
just going to call him a shit on.
Right, because he's not.
He's a good
not.
quarterback.
He's a very good quarterback, supreme arm talent. I think he makes a lot of mental mistakes sometimes. I don't know why. I mean, you've seen it in his last season.
This is what it is. This is what it is. When you have a quarterback on the team where the run game isn't that great and it's not too many explosive plays on the run game end, you have to use your arm.
And you're more predictable.
Right. And so if you're throwing the ball 70% of the game, you're more liable to make more errors. And so when you have that pressure on you, and you have the type of arm talent that Matthew Stafford has,
you're going to go for those plays.
You're gonna try to force the ball into windows that sometimes the average quarterback can't make. And 50% of the time, he's going to make those throws.
And that was my biggest frustration in the Jim Caldwell years. Yes, the culture was amazing. There was a great vibe in the city.
But that's always been the way he played, though.
I understand, but there was. I want to say they peaked year 1 with Caldwell, right? They peaked year 1. That was a given. They went 11-5.
We didn't peak. That was the last year of that 24-month regime.
But the roster went.
The roster.
The roster started to decline.
And our roster was told. So when he came in, Caldwell had to win now because that was the last year we were together. The first year we had Swartz, and we understood that we got to start basically the same roster. We went from 7-9 to 11-5.
If I'm correct, I believe it was lost to New Orleans in the playoffs, had a down season, and then Caldwell came in, correct?
2 seasons.
2 seasons?
2 seasons.
And then Caldwell came in.
So 11.
Yeah, so that roster was on the peak
Saints.
end of it.
Yeah.
11 was the Saints. Then we had 12. When I think we only won 4 games. I think we
And then
won 4
7,
and
I
12.
believe, in 13.
We won 7 games and
then 11
and
the
14.
next season.
And that was basically the same roster as
But Jim
14.
Caldwell did come in as a Super Bowl appearing coach. He did make it to a Super Bowl.
Right,
Granted,
he
he
came
lost.
in and took a team that was 7-9,
And
took
he
it to
flipped,
11-5.
which good coaches should do, in my opinion. That's how I'm going to hold Dan Campbell accountable this year. Free pass. I want to see the team compete.
He
I want
has
to
a
see
free
smart
pass this year and next year.
Well, I think good coaches can turn around the team in 2 seasons.
Listen, this is not that. Right? This is a player's game. Now, I would say it'll be his job to put his players in the position to make good plays and to be successful, but he's not the one out there making the play.
I agree.
I think what we need to watch is like how he managed the game.
That's what I'm
his
waiting
play
for.
calling, and if he calls a play and the play works and the guy's open down the field, he drops the ball. That's not no Dan Campbell.
No, of course not. But what I mean by that is if you have, let's say Dan Campbell is this amazing coach and he's really going to turn it around for Detroit, then I can predict already what's going to happen. Year one's going to be down, but you're going to see like signs of life in the team, fight. You're going to see
Sparks,
good
little
football.
flashes.
You're going to see smart decisions. And then next year, they're going to win 7, 8, or possibly 9 games. And then it's going to be year 3 where they take off and you're like, wow, this is really coming together. But Brad Holmes in one offseason has proven that he's a competent GM. I think we can all agree he's made good decisions so far. So I don't have to worry about if the GM's going to assemble a roster for this head coach. I know he's going to do that. So now I can look at the head coach and say, you know what? This isn't as bad as it is, or as it seems, really. You can get it done if you are that coach. And I believe by year 2, 7 wins should be a minimum. 8, 9 is kind of realistic because I still think the team needs to develop. But you know,
I keep using this as an analogy, and I'll keep using it. I mean, just a couple years ago, people thought that the Arizona Cardinals and the Miami Dolphins were going to be disastrous for years, and they both came this close to making the playoffs last year. It can happen, and again, it's just a start. But what's interesting about the start is even, veterans like Terry, who have seen this franchise and the hope of this franchise for so many years. Terry, you and I were talking before the show. You have to look at what Brad Holmes has done objectively so far and go, my man gets it.
Right, but I hate to be rude. Just missing the playoffs like this doesn't do anything for me.
thank you.
Thank you. That's nothing.
And even making the playoffs. So I like to use the Green Bay Packers as a really good analogy for this. This is a team where the fan base will complain if they don't make the NFC Championship game. Now, I'm not saying every year we need to be in the divisional round or even in the NFC Championship game, but you should have those aspirations. You should have those expectations.
Are you saying that I should
and you
want
should
more
set
than
your
9
standards,
and 7 and
you
losing
should
in the
increase your
playoffs, Adam?
standards. Exactly.
Because
That's
I'm
exactly
told
what I'm saying.
a bad guy I am for
No.
people around here glorifying 9 and 7.
No, and
No. I don't think we're
Yes, you are.
glorifying it. I'm not glorifying 9-7. I'm saying you can go 9-7 and still make it to the NFC Championship. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but what good is it if you lose in the playoffs?
Well, that's the thing.
That's always been my
When
point.
you're talking about in context, Joik is 100% right. Like if you're in the playoffs, you got a chance. But when you're the Lions and you're 0-3 in the 3 wildcard appearances you've had in the
Giants
last 10
won a
years,
Super Bowl.
yeah, but are you? Is that what you want to set up for?
No,
I wouldn't want to be a
hell
Giants
no.
fan
That's
right
my
now.
point.
You
No.
guys gave me 2
Since-
years and you gave me 20 years of shit. Granted, those 2 years were miracle runs, but we don't look like a competent organization. I don't see this team winning 10 games. Like my definition of success in a decade period would be multiple division titles. You know what? We had a few down seasons, but we recovered. We won 9, 10 games, 11 games. We were always in the running. We won a few playoff games, got to an NFC Championship game maybe, hell, even a Super Bowl. I don't know. Having said that, the standard of 9 and 7, let's just get in. I think it's a bad
hate it.
message. I don't like it.
With a passion, I hate
But
it.
not,
with a
not
passion.
to
And
be
the
rude, how
players
many
don't
times
think like that
have they
either.
finished
don't
9
think
and
like
7
that.
Yeah.
since?
Like players don't
Since
say like
Caldwell?
Since Caldwell.
Not
That
once.
would be
Just
zero.
Not
Say what?
once. Not
Say what?
I said, how many times did the Lions finish 9 and 7 since Caldwell?
High
That would
water
be
mark is 6.
Zitters.
I mean, it's
you look at
disgusting.
Caldwell's 9 and 7 year. They won 8 of those, I believe, on fourth quarter comebacks, like last minute drives. And I don't want to diminish that. That's impressive. That means the team had character. They were fighting for all 4 quarters. But that's a big flaw because you can't bet especially in the NFL. Like winning a game is very difficult. So if you're trying to win 90% of your games last minute, I can almost guarantee you're going to lose half of those games the following season. And that's where the drop-off happened.
Adam, the dirty little secret about that year as well, people forget, the Lions were 9 and 4, and they got hammered their last 4 games. Hammered. I'm sorry, I'm not going to celebrate
And that's
that.
why I got frustrated earlier with Stick.
When
you
you
can't
back
tell me
up
that
that
team is
truck
going to
into
be
the
8 and
playoffs,
5.
When you back up that truck into the playoffs to begin with, and then that was the worst playoff game I've ever watched. That is not an exaggeration.
Seattle?
Completely non-competitive against Seattle. It was terrible.
No, I was there.
And so you know how bad it was.
Listen, if for some reason every playoff game I've ever played in Seattle, we lost.
It was terrible.
Well, I didn't really play.
Tough place to
You know
play.
what's funny? Both those games I didn't touch the field.
But again, I'll bring up Matthew
That's why he
Stafford.
lost.
This is where a quarterback. Here, I'll give you an even better example. You put Stafford on the Bucks last season. Do they win a Super Bowl?
No.
Do they finish with the record they have? Honestly. Do they get to the playoffs? I could bet that.
Yeah, I can
I'd
say
be okay
that.
with
I
that.
can say
I think
that.
they lose to Washington with Stafford.
Yeah.
I think they lose in the divisional round to.
Why do you think they lose? Why do you think they lose? to
Why?
Washington?
Because there's.
Brady
I
has
can't
it.
explain character and leadership, and I don't want to say Matthew Stafford isn't a leader. Everybody's a leader in their own way.
I'm gonna
But
tell you what,
I
this is
don't
what
think
it
he's
is.
good enough to make players around him that much better. The way Tom Brady walked in there and did that, he
you
changed
said
the
something
entire
right
culture.
there. I thought you was gonna have there. It's a certain thing that a quarterback has.
It
It is that, but it's not. It's not because of them, but it is because of them. I want to explain it though. When you have a guy on your team that whenever you have him behind the center, and all the players just know if that guy's behind the center, he's our quarterback. We have a shot, and so that drive is going to go throughout the entire team. It's going to trickle. It's going to trickle around the entire team. But you go in there, you put in a bag up. They don't have that same type of energy.
And I don't want to
you
say
see that-
Stafford
and you see
doesn't
that-
have it. I just don't think he has it on an
Well, I'ma
elite
give you an
level.
example.
not to that level. I get
Right,
what you're
I'ma
saying.
give you an
And
example.
28-3 in the Super Bowl, and granted that was an anomaly, but down 28-3, they weren't crying on the sidelines. Tom Brady was sitting there, guys, give me a stop. I'm going to get you a score right now when we come out of the break. Gets a score, gets a stop, comes back and scores again. The whole game has been changed.
Can I,
Because
let
I
me,
wanna
we're
talk
up against a
more.
break, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring something up. Joy, this is before you played for the Lions, but there is a guy, and Terry, I'm gonna bring it up to you, that I'm glad that Adam, Matthew Stafford's it is here. Tom Brady's it I can't reach that high. But
Aaron
sometimes
Rodgers, I could argue, has the same it
I
as
agree
fucking
with you.
Matthew
does.
Stafford.
But sometimes
You said
there's
what?
a guy you take one look at
He
him.
has the same it as who?
he has that same it leadership as Matthew Stafford, I could argue.
Matthew Stafford or Tom
sometimes-
Brady?
No, Matthew Stafford and Aaron Rodgers is who I'm comparing. What I'm trying to say is I could argue that Aaron
He's saying
Rodgers
he's a
has
step
that same
below.
leadership quality as Matthew Stafford, and that's why he's not at the level that Tom Brady is at.
When we come back from a break, and after I urinate, quite frankly, because my bladder's going to burst, Terry, there's a guy, and I don't know if you and I have ever had this conversation, but there was a guy in town, Joy, before you were a Lion, that I hate to play this game because I hate when people say it. If you were at camp, you saw it. If you weren't at camp, I could understand why there was such a pushback about this guy. But one of our saviors, it didn't take long for people to figure out this guy ain't it. We'll talk about it in a moment. So glad you could join us. Adam jumping in. That was kind of like the Adam Light.
I know.
That was
Who was that guy?
Sitting down with his legs
don't know.
crossed.
I like full octane Adam.
No, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to Adam kind of go on this rant, and you said that Aaron Rodgers and Matthew Stafford has that same type of leadership quality.
Yeah, I think I could make an argument, but Aaron Rodgers is so special. I think everybody can agree.
Yeah, I don't know
But
what it is.
why with the teams and even the coaches that he's had, why are we stopping at the NFC Championship game? Now, granted, there's been issues with the Green Bay organization and who they draft in the first round, but again, if you're that
And
quarterback,
who they just picked up now.
yeah, like
Yeah.
if you're that quarterback, that does not happen. Like you got to get to at least another 2 or 3 Super Bowls with that talent. Now, maybe I'm holding him to too high of an expectation. I just think he's that great of a player. So that's the comparison I was making.
All right, so put the camera back on me, Art. I appreciate it. So, me being able to play with Matthew Stafford and me also playing against Aaron Rodgers for numerous years, it's a little bit different. All right, I feel confident with Matthew Stafford behind the center, but the way that those Green Bay Packers players, how they respond to Aaron Rodgers being in the game, getting hurt, us coming back, and then him saying, you know what, I'm going to play through this, and then going back out there, and you saw a totally different team out of Green Bay Packers. All right. I don't know if the team would rally like that around other quarterbacks around the NFL. Now, we talk about Matthew Stafford. Now, I rally behind Matthew any day. I know his grit, but I don't think people look at Matthew Stafford and say he's one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL.
And that's unfortunately his downfall. Is he was never an elite quarterback. He had an elite arm.
No,
but-
top 3 arms in the league.
Oh, easily. And then you can argue that
Top 2.
every season
You can argue.
easily. And his biggest downfall will be he just never had that extra 1 or 2 throws a game that just changed the whole complexion of it, and it brought the team back, or it made the game.
Yeah. Do you remember that game
Impossible
too?
for a team
Do you
to
remember
come
that
back.
game like against Green Bay where when Rodgers got hurt, they brought in the backup. We started to do a comeback, and then all of a sudden he came back in. Was that 14 or 15?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It
the
was-
Matt
Joy,
Flynn game is the one that
here's
kills
the
me.
bottom line. You're the only one who can have an answer for this. You're down 4. You got the ball at the 20. Let's say it's 2 minutes and 12 seconds left. Did you feel...
Our 20 or their 20?
You're
20.
20. You got to
Yeah,
go
you're
80
20.
yards to
Okay.
score. When Matthew Stafford was the quarterback, did you feel we're going to do this?
Yeah,
Or we
for
got
sure.
a shot to do
Can
this?
I defend Joy-
Or-
can I defend Joy on this
I would
one?
tell you this. Game management, Aaron Rodgers. Last 2 minutes of the game, Matthew Stafford. Hands
I'm going to
down.
defend Joik on this. Stafford over his career actually has way more. I want
No,
to say triple the amount of fourth quarter
that's
comebacks to
incredible.
Aaron Rodgers.
No,
I
yeah.
believe it's 37-12 or 37-13.
Yeah, I'm
But
telling
my
you.
biggest issue with Matthew Stafford is those comeback wins were never. I want to say 1 or 2 maximum were against winning football teams.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's kind of diluted.
I always used to joke, Jake Plummer always used to have that reputation, and Jake Plummer had all these, and here comes Jake the Snake. And I was like, well, the reason you're down is because you're awful and you threw 3 interceptions earlier in the game, so how much credit do we give you? Can I give you, this was what I teased before we went to the break, and Terry, you can speak to this. The Lions drafted John Joseph Harrington out of Oregon, and everybody thought he was the savior, okay? I cannot stress this enough. Well, number one, I think you remember he wasn't very good. Number 2, Terry, I think you'll get my back here. You probably had better relationship with guys than I did. He wasn't liked. Guys didn't like him. All you had to do was be out at training camp. You saw it. And you can't, it's not, and this is one of those things I hate when people do this. Well, you're not at camp, you can't see it. Right? I hate when people, that was one example where I'll say, okay, you know what? You were out. Terry,
All
would you
right,
agree with me?
here-
Nobody
well-
liked the guy. It was weird.
Forget training camp. Joey Harrington would beg guys to go hang out with him, and they didn't want to.
Nobody liked him.
And then reluctantly, somebody would go, and you always, you go in the locker room and say, yeah, this dude wants to go bowling or something. I'm busy. I don't want to go. So you could tell, and I tell you another that didn't like him, Mooch. Mooch didn't like his ass because I was doing a puff piece on Joey Harrington. So I asked Mooch just some softball questions. He looked at me like he had gas. I don't want to. You could tell I don't want to say anything nice about it. This dude, and he didn't. He did not like his quarterback. He wasn't, and this was at a
You know
time
what?
when they were trying to hype him up. And Mooch is pretty honest and said, "No,
Yeah,
he's not that."
I actually like this question. Rank Stafford all time among NFC North quarterbacks. All time.
All time?
That's a lot.
God, I mean, let's just go over maybe the last 30 years.
All right, we can
So
do
you got
that.
Brett Favre, you got Aaron Rodgers. I don't care what order
He's
you want to
back
put him in.
behind them.
And then you probably, I mean,
Boy, Randall Cunningham had that one magic season. Remember when he was with me? He had that one magic season.
what are we basing this on? You like talent? Because obviously Stafford's going to be third on that list,
Yeah.
realistically, in the last 30 years, which is even more frustrating considering he didn't achieve anything significant, which is even, I mean, I don't know what to say.
Culpepper and Moss that one year had that magic year. I mean, yeah, it's
Kitna
something.
fucking threw for over 4,200
now we're doing
yards.
among top QBs of having the best season. Or are we just doing
Yeah, that's
of,
kinda what
of
I
a
wanna-
career?
Let me
the
here.
best.
Let me give you.
Yeah.
Rex Grossman took a team to a Super Bowl. Okay, I'll have Matthew Stafford over Rex Grossman
Any day of the week.
8 days out of 7, right? And you know what
Correct.
people would say? Hey, Rex Grossman went to a Super Bowl. You're an idiot,
That's-
and I'm done with this
You know what else
conversation.
they say? No,
right?
Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl.
Well, this is what I mean, like with the New York Giants
Probably
example.
are saying that.
That is not an organization. That's not stable. Just because you made 2 wild card appearances and a magical run, congratulations, 2 Super Bowls, amazing. But you've been out of the 26 years previously, you've been shit. You have been absolute shit. And That's why 9-7, that whole theory doesn't cut it for me. I think you gotta aspire to be much more consistent than that.
But
agree.
here's the thing about the Lions. You know, everybody wants to win. I understand that. But when they hire somebody new, the word that I never hear is championships. We're not here to win championships.
Frustrates
You
me.
never hear that. We were here to win some games. We're here to be competitive. We're here to bust some kneecaps. But I don't hear that C word. We're going to win championships, or we here to win championships. They remind me of the Utah
what are
Jazz.
they here for?
Yeah.
What are they here for? What are they here for? What are you talking about?
They don't say that.
What Terry's saying
They don't
is
have
like,
to
it's
say
not
that.
being
Yes,
addressed.
they do.
Why do we have to say that?
Because you
Because
are
too
a
many people
franchise that
glorify
hasn't
97?
won anything.
No, because you come in, and then our goal here is a championship. They can come say that, and then they don't make the championship, and you're gonna hold them to that. Like, no, you don't have to come in and do your job.
No, I think,
Everyone knows the goal is a championship here.
I don't
When
see
we-
why it's
I don't
wrong,
think it is.
Or I don't see why it's not fair to ask anybody, any new hire, to walk in and say, all right, you guys gave me a 6-year deal. Here's my plan. We're going to build this team. We're going to change the culture. We're going to build it from the ground up. And the ultimate goal of this is to deliver a Super Bowl to the city.
No.
That's
Not
it.
a Super Bowl, multiple Super Bowls, but we're not doing that here. Right now, you looking into the future. We see the future down there, but right now, before we get down the street, we got to take our first step.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at my first step. I can't get across the street unless I open that door. I can't keep walking into that door. Let me go through the process. I don't have to tell you guys what I'm about to do. I just need to do it. It's a difference between this and
I
between
think
that.
there's
You know, it's a
some kind of
difference.
knack with
It's a
some,
difference.
especially people with charisma. There's some kind of knack where this guy just walks on the podium in his introduction press conference and he says, this team is better than what they've shown over the last few years. We're going to change the culture here. We're going to work hard. We're going to do whatever he said we're going to do. And not only is the ultimate goal to deliver championships, but the ultimate goal is to build a successful long-term winning football team. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying that, but there's also an effect that has on the locker room when you walk in and say, I believe in you.
Yeah,
I don't care what the last head coach and GM thought of you. I believe in you, and I think we can do more with you than anybody thought before.
They also have to be realistic, and that's what I like about this regime. And they're not writing any checks for this year or even beyond. And that's what I appreciate about this regime, because I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. I have stood in front of general managers. I have had private conversations with guys doing that shit. No. And that's like no, right? No, enough. You know,
Look at the Atlanta
that's what I
GM.
appreciate about these guys.
Look at the Atlanta GM prior to him getting fired last season. Ballsy move trading up to 7 and grabbing Julio Jones. I believe it was 2 years after that trade, or 3 years, that they finally made a Super Bowl run. Granted, they blew a lead, but that's your job as a GM. Like, you got to identify and be like, what do I got to do to make this team a championship team? Because if you're not going for that, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's why I'll never agree with 9-7. It's why I'll never agree with glorifying Stafford, although he was the only franchise quarterback in the Detroit Lions' history post 1955. So I can say he was a good quarterback, but I can also criticize his performances. I mean, it's only fair.
I can do that too. My biggest thing, my biggest take for years and years is the Lions have been, they're not a real organization. Now I think they are, but those years they weren't real.
And I think they're on the track of becoming a good
Finally.
organization, a stable organization. The fact that they were fortunate, but also smart enough to take Sewell at 7 is a good thing. Years past, that could have been a trade back. That would have been some greedy motherfucker saying, I know more than everybody else in this draft. You can take Sewell. I'll take your 2 first-round picks and a second-rounder, and I'll just hit on those instead of taking the surefire offensive lineman. So I'm happy with Brad Holmes so far.
They didn't care about sexy. They really didn't, because it was like we were talking before the show. The great Louis Riddick, who is such a hot commodity in the NFL that he's been out of the league for 9 years. But Louis Riddick saying, I'd take Waddle. Well, there's a reason why you're sitting on ESPN, pal.
I believe it was Devontae Smith he said he would take
Was
at
it
7.
Devontae Smith?
Devontae Smith at 7.
Who are the dumbest fans in the NFL? Lion fans. Because
Why?
A, they always believe, and B, that's the guy they wanted.
No, they sure did. This is where I say, how many times have you, Joey, I know you've heard me say, do your research. Just do it. Go look at what Louis Riddick did at the league. He was the director of pro personnel for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was the guy that signed their dream team in 2011. It was a disaster. People around the league made fun of them. But because he looks like such a smart ex-football player on television, that would make a great general manager for us.
If I can say something on Sean's comment about the whole sexy pick, whether it turns out right or wrong that they took 2 defensive linemen before a receiver, the fact that they didn't take a receiver and didn't cave into the pressure of taking a receiver in the second round, for me tells me all I need to know about Brad Holmes' character, his ability to work under pressure.
1000%.
He doesn't give a shit what people think.
Yep.
He's going to listen to the scouts. He's going to listen to everybody he works with, and they're going to make the best decision for the football team. And that's how an organization is ran, to Terry's point.